So it's about time I gave you a proper welcome to this brand new vlog. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the muffins, and hopefully there will be enough time after to then get out and fertilize my lawn. And I have to apologize in advance if the lighting changes because it has been cloudy and dreary, but now the sun is occasionally trying to come out. So that's the one downfall to filming with my Nikon, because you have to adjust the settings manually. And which I probably need to look at that, because there is an auto option, but I don't trust it very much. Anyway, that's the benefit to filming on my cell phone, is I don't have to worry about it because it does auto adjust to the lighting changes. So if I suddenly get very bright, I apologize. But anyway, I'm going to start out by making the vegan buttermilk, and then we're going to move on and throw together the muffins. And I will put the recipe down below, but I will give you a forewarning that I'm kind of using this recipe as kind of just a base for what I want to do, and I will be modifying probably quite a bit of it. So I will try to include the modifications I'm doing as we go. All right, I set that aside so that it can start to thicken up, and I'm going to go ahead and throw all of my dry ingredients in here. So the very first substitution, the recipe says oat flour and then a gluten-free flour blend, but I'm not worried about gluten. I'm not intolerant, I'm not celiac, I don't have leaky gut, so I'm good with it. So I'm just going to use plain wheat flour, and then add the other dry ingredients will be the same, except I am also going to add some ground flax to mine. Probably not any chia seeds, I think just ground flax. And after that, we'll move on to the wet. Alexa, add baking powder to the shopping list. Okay, I'm ready to add my vegan buttermilk, but I am not going to use all of it. And this is also part of the reason why I added the flax too, aside from the fact that I just want the extra nutritional value of it. But you could also use, like, just make a flax egg if you wanted to. But since I'm using frozen blueberries, and I know as it bakes and they thaw, it's going to add some moisture to this mix, I don't want to overdo it. So I am going to pour in probably about 3/4 of this and see where I'm at. And if I need more, I'll add more at that point. A little bit of a change that I'm going to make is I'm also going to add in some cinnamon. I think I'm going to leave it like this on the milk. I don't want to add any more because it is just a little bit on the dry side, but I know that as those blueberries melt in, it's going to add water. So I don't want them to be sloppy wet. So I'm going to grab the blueberries out of the freezer and add those, and then they'll be ready to go in the oven, which I just realized I have yet to have turned on. Oh goodness, 360. 1.5 cups. Okay, so this is a mix of blueberries and blackberries, but it's mostly blueberries. So 1.5 cups of those, I'm going to stir them in. And then I will see if I have any muffin liners. I don't remember for sure, but I'll get them in their tins. And then I'm going to hop outside and get the fertilizing done while these are baking, because they take like 30 minutes. One blackberry, so we'll just pluck him out and put him back in the bag. All right, I do have some, but not a ton, so I'm going to add some for my next order so I know that I will be covered the next time I want to make any kind of muffin. Alexa, add cupcake liners to the shopping list. Especially since it looks like these are the jumbo ones. I hope that I did not shortchange myself by not adding all of the liquid. This is going to be a test run for sure. I've made muffins before, obviously, but I used sugar in those. I'll use like the unbleached organic cane sugar, which is still, somewhat refined, but it's not as bad as just like plain white sugar. But I'm experimenting. I wanted to use a recipe that uses maple syrup to sweeten instead, which is what I'm doing here. So this whole thing is just kind of a big test run. So we'll see how this turns out. Normally when I make blueberry muffins, I have fresh blueberries that I put in and not frozen, which is the main reason why I'm concerned about the liquid. Okay, I think I've got them about as even as I can, so I'm going to go ahead and get them in, and then we're going to go outside and fertilize my lawn. All right, well, I'm not super confident. I think maybe I should have used a little bit of extra liquid, especially since I added the flax, because I'm seeing that a lot of the blueberries are still just kind of sitting on top and didn't actually get into the batter. So I'm not real sure how they're going to be, but I'm going to let them cool a little bit, and then we're going to try one and see. But I may have to revert back to my old standby muffin recipe that uses sugar instead of maple syrup, because that one turned out pretty well for me every time. So, well, let's just see what we've got. It's still pretty hot. I really need to just pull them out of here and let them cool on a cooling rack, but I digress. Honestly, really not sweet at all. So I think I am going to stick with my usual recipe. Muffins are just hard to make healthy if you want to have, not be using like actual sugar or any oil, because I used applesauce instead of oil, which I don't know if I actually mentioned that before. But anyway, I think I'm going to stick with using my organic cane sugar or coconut sugar and using my other recipe. I'll still link this down below in case anybody wants to try it, but I'm not really a fan. Good evening. I've just made myself my usual go-to noodle bowl, and I'm getting ready to eat. But while it cools, I figured I'd do a little chat. I'm about halfway through the 7th book. So this is Little Town on the Prairie. And I don't know, reading through this series again just has me like all up in my head about just the way things are in society now compared to, gosh, 150 years ago, as crazy as that is to even say. Um, I don't know, it definitely leaves you with like this yearning for a simpler life and less consumerism and less materialism, which was already my goal for this year before I started this book. And I have to admit I've been doing pretty well. I have overspent this month, but it wasn't on frivolous junk that I didn't need. It was on stuff to finish planting the garden and fertilize the lawn and seed the lawn and do the house maintenance stuff that needs to get done. So there's definitely a big difference between that and just buying crap that I don't need just because, ooh, it's pretty, I want it. I feel like I've pretty well broken that habit actually, and it feels good to be able to say that, and to be able to find the joy in the things that I already own and already have again. Like even just putting this dress on today, it was one that at the end of last summer I was like, oh, man, do I really like that anymore? It might be time to replace it. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, what was ever wrong with it? It is pink and it's flowery and it is everything that I love about spring and summer. So why would I not like this dress? I don't understand my thinking, but fortunately, I'm feeling my thought process on a lot of that stuff start to shift, and I'm really grateful for that. So it's been a good experiment, and for being only March 1st, so only really, or well, the 4th today, but so being only 2 full months in and already feeling that way gives me a lot of hope for what the end of the year is going to be like. But it's also bringing up something else in me that I'm very much for, to each his own, do your own thing, love who you are, and I never want to push myself onto others or expect that my ideas and thoughts and opinions and values are what everyone else in the entire world should also live by. I have seen a lot of undoing of society from exactly that, from so many people that believe that their values are the ones that reign supreme and that everyone else must be forced to live by them. It has been causing nothing but conflict and wars and the devolving of societies over and over again since the dawn of time. I think whenever you do like read a lot and learn a lot, and you've learned a lot about history, you can kind of see those patterns. Especially, there was a book I read that covered the entire like 10,000 year existence of England, and it was very eye-opening to exactly that. Just one war after another, after another, after another. And every single one of them was the same thing. It was a power struggle because, and usually over religion. And it was because one religion thought, well, you need to live my way. And then the other one thought, no, you need to live my way. And it's just constant battle. And we still have those same conflicts going on even now. And honestly, it's a shame. It is a shame that people can't just live and let live. But what I was getting to before going off on that tangent is that I see my own thought process changing, but at the end of the day, I still live in a society where we are ruled by capitalism in the United States, and capitalism um, needs to drive consumerism. It's the only way that it can survive. And we've reached a point where profit is so highly valued over people and over experiences and over the way people get to live their lives that, it will find a way to profit at every turn. Anything that we need, any necessities, fuel, shelter, food, all of those things, they find ways to take advantage and maximize profit as much as possible at the expense of people's livelihoods. And I see that, and it's something that no matter what I'm doing within myself, we can't escape it. And I realize that if everyone would collectively come together and just stop spending money, stop buying, refuse to fuel that kind of corporate greed, it would force them to change. We have the power to force change. And that's where I look at my own kind of thoughts shifting on things and realize that I can't make other people do the same. But if only we could, if everybody would do it, the changes that we could affect in our country. And at some point, something's got to give. We can't all keep living the way that we've been. My poor kids. I have a son who's 19 and getting ready to move out on his own probably about the end of this year. And just the constant expenses of things and being worried about being able to afford rent. Like he's going to have roommates, obviously, but everything's just so expensive anymore. And just shelter and food has become such a high percentage of our incomes compared to what it was, even just 40 or 50 years ago, that it's very difficult for him. Like he does honestly feel a little on the hopeless side. I know when I was his age, I was excited for starting out, and he's not having that same experience. And so many kids like him are not, because of where we are right now. And even tomorrow morning we have to go. His car has sprung an oil leak from somewhere, and I have no idea where or how much that's going to cost to repair. And he's at the age now where he's done with school. Like, he got his certificate in graphic design, and he was going to a community college to get an associate's degree, but he hated it. He hated college. He likes the hands-on, like getting his certificate. It was all hands-on doing the actual work. And now he's just doing prereqs to try to get his associate's degree. And so it's like, public speaking and some math class and stuff that he just doesn't care about. And this whole generation is kind of in a similar position, I feel like, where they're just struggling to care about things like that. They're in a very different mindset and a very different place in the world than we were at that age. And so he decided that the best thing for him was just to quit and go on his graphic design certificate and see what he can do. He's going to look into tattoo artist apprenticeship, and then kind of go from there. But at any rate, now we've got this car that we don't know if it's going to be a $200 repair. We don't know if it's going to be a $1,000 repair. Like, we have no idea, because an oil leak could be just about anything. I mean, who knows? We're hoping it's something simple, but at the end of the day, it's like there's another bill, and he is supposed to be responsible for it now, because since he's no longer in school, he's got to pay his own bills. He's got to start paying his own car insurance. He's got to start paying his own cell phone bill, all of this stuff. And very first thing, he's going to get slapped with this. And I'm on the fence right now, because I don't know if I want to pay for it for him so that he can at least start saving money to be ready to move out at the end of the year and not have this hit him, But at the same time, there's only so much more I can do. Over the last few years, my savings, I still have a decent amount of savings, but it's definitely dwindled a lot, and I'm trying to build it back up. And I just had a car repair of my own. I had a wheel bearing that I had to have replaced in my car last week. That was almost a $500 bill. So, you can't save money when you constantly have expenses taking away more than you're able to put back. So, I don't know what we're going to do there. But anyway, I'm not even sure what I intended for this chat to turn into, but here's where we are. So at any rate, I'm going to eat my dinner now, and I'm going to do some more reading and dream of simpler times. Harder times, most definitely. Homesteading was definitely not easy. They had a lot of struggles and a lot of trials and tribulations, but gosh darn, to be so self-sufficient and not have things cost. You can raise some crops on your land and sell them and earn enough money for the entire year without being like a full-fledged, big-time, thousands of acres farmer with plows and, well, I shouldn't say with plows, but with combines and sprayers and all of these, $500,000 pieces of equipment. One man could farm a small plot of land and earn a living. And we're just not there anymore. So as hard as the work was, the times are definitely simpler. And I don't know, it's got me feeling nostalgic. But anyway, I will catch up with you tomorrow. Hi, you might have guessed by now, and maybe not, but I am working on a vegan shepherd's pie. It is not going to be ready for lunch because once I get it in the oven, it's got to bake for a while. So while it's baking, I'm going to go out and actually throw out the grass seed because it did rain last night. So that kind of got all of the fertilizer absorbed into the yard. And then it's supposed to rain some more this afternoon. So grass seed will be perfect timing because it'll get a good water without me having to go spray it. But in the meantime, I'm doing this as simply as I possibly can, and I don't have a recipe. I'm just, pulling this out of my head, but I will look for a good recipe for a vegan shepherd's pie. So if you want to replicate something that you work better with the recipe, there will be something there for you. But all I've got to do right now is chop up the onion. I've already cooked the lentils. I like to cook those outside of the pie because lentils are one of those things that they cook best just boiling them in water. You don't want to salt it because the salt keeps them from softening up as well. So I boiled those first, and then when those were done, I threw in the potatoes. I got those boiled. I have them mashed. They're ready to go. So now I just have to make the filling. So I'm going to chop up this onion, get it sauteing, and then all I do from there is throw in a bag of frozen mixed vegetables, and then add like some broth and some tomato paste and seasonings and all of that, and then pop it into the oven. So anyhow, let's get started chopping up the onion. All right, the onions are browning up nicely, so it's time to add in the frozen vegetables and let them cook down. So rather than chopping up all of my own stuff, I like to just buy this bag and throw everything in and be done with it. And since I don't have any red wine in the house, I am going to go ahead and throw in just a splash of balsamic vinegar as well. All right, now I'm ready to add lentils. I don't know yet if I'm going to use all of them. I'm going to start pouring in and see what it looks like. If I don't use them all, I'll just set some aside and make some spaghetti sauce out of the rest. It is now time to season, and all I'm using is thyme and rosemary, and I will sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper as well. And then I'm going to pour in some more broth. I like to make mine a little bit on the brothy side because when you're doing anything with mashed potatoes, I like to have a gravy. So I don't want it to be too thick. I want there to be some juice to go into the gravy. All right, now I'm going to grab this off the burner and I'm going to pour it in and then layer it with the mashed potatoes, and I'm going to pop it into the oven. All right, I've set the oven to 400 degrees. I am just eyeballing it, so I'm going to put it in there for 20 minutes and come back and check it. So everything's cooked through, right? So it's just a matter of browning up the mashed potatoes on top. So I'm going to throw it in at 400, see where we're at, probably turn the temperature down to finish it off. But that's it. That's all there is to it. I noticed this while I was throwing out the grass seed. Look how close these are to budding out now. This lilac is going to be blooming before I know it. It is my absolute favorite smell in the entire world. I cannot wait for this to be covered in lovely scented flowers. And look at these hyacinths. Oh my goodness. The first real pop of color I have in this herbaceous border. They're coming up so beautifully. I'm ready for the tulips to catch up now. I was hoping they'd both be blooming at the same time, but the hyacinths definitely popped up a little early. They're kind of like those Easter lilies or daffodils, whatever you call them where you are. But The tulips are coming. I don't see any flower buds in them yet. Still just leaves for right now, but soon. All right, it's just starting to brown up on the little peaks in here, and it's looking really good. So I'm also working on filming a reel while I'm doing this, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that up, and then we'll give it a taste. All right, done with that. Now I need to get clocked back into work. I'm going to take this with me and eat it at my desk, and then here in just a little bit we need to run and pick up Hunter's car. He wasn't able to figure out for sure where the oil was coming from. He found 3 possible places, so he's going to put a UV dye in it. Hunter's going to drive it for a week, and then we're going to take it back, and he's going to scan it with the UV light and see what he can find. So TBD on the car, but otherwise, I'm going to go enjoy my lunch.